Namaskaram everyone. So I'm recording this video on the Ganesh Chaturthi and I wanted to share a few different types of Ganesha worship that I came across in my day to day, actually just being part of the rural Karnataka scene. Because as you know, I'm involved in the Sadhguru Sannidhi Bangalore, and that's situated in a very rural area outside, many kilometers, 70 kilometers away from Bangalore. And it's always fascinating for me to learn more about the culture here. And today I was just going about my day and actually came across multiple forms of how this Ganesha worship is done. So one is that I had gone with one of the local families to do the visarjan of their one day Ganpati. Like they got the Ganpati just one day before the Chaturthi, and on Chaturthi they set it, they did all the various pujas, and the same evening they were going for visarjan and I accompanied them. When I went for the visarjan, that was a normal one, how a typical small family I would expect them to go about it. However, when we were doing the visarjan, there was another Kannadiga couple that came in, and they, what I noticed very interestingly was what they took out from there was not a Ganesha idol, but instead it looked like a Linga shaped ball of mud. And they went about all the pujas and things like that, and when they submerged that Linga, it completely dispersed. So it was completely natural. There was no chemical. There was not even much of a binding agent. And then I spoke to them, and what they said is they were doing the thing called gauri visarjan. Basically, it's also like a one-day thing. They will do this one day before the Ganesh Chaturthi. They just take some turmeric from their house and make it into this linga form, which is supposed to represent gauri. So it's also interesting here that how this it's like a Devi lingam. And they do all the puja and stuff, and and then they've come here to do the visarjan, and it is very beautiful because it's just turmeric and water lump. So when it's just put into the water, the whole thing disperses so cleanly, and because it's a lot of turmeric, assuming they have used a good quality turmeric, then it's actually very good for the water's body as well. So it was really fascinating. The only thing was that in the puja they did of the lingam before the visarjan, there were all kinds of plastic packets and plastic things. So that was quite unfortunate because they took all of that and just did the visarjan. So while that gauri lingam dispersed very nicely, everything else was just floating around over there on the water body, including plastic packets. And then I came to one of my neighbors who had also kept the Ganesha just for one day. They were going to do the visarjan a little bit later into the night. So I went and visited the Ganesha. It was made so well. I was shocked to know that the neighbor Anna, brother himself, actually made it. And they said that it is like a ritual in their community that all the boys will handmake the entire Ganesh murti out of for the Chaturthi day, and it took them some 4 hours, but they made such a beautiful one. I was so impressed, and it was pretty large, like this size, and Mushak and the whole Ganesha. It was a very fantastic job, and you could see probably because they were making this every year. Over the years, probably because the son starts making it with his father, they also develop a kind of skill at it. So within 3-4 hours, they really make this really beautiful murti. Having said that, earlier in the morning, I was in the Sannidhi, and we all volunteers came together to make these mud Ganeshas as a celebratory activity, and they came out quite well actually, considering that a lot of us had never really done it before, and we didn't even spend much thought to it. So we simply went about it in some joyful way, and it actually came out really good. So it's really amazing how much accessible these things are. Somehow we just because we buy it from the shop, we get it in the shop, and we have the money, we just we just take the quick route, and we feel that after a point we feel we are really not capable of doing it. But it's actually pretty simple. Like any one of you, probably if you're willing to spend 4 hours before the Chaturthi or even on the Chaturthi day, you'll just get a nice good quality mud or clay, and which only requires little bit of research, because getting the clay won't be that tough. It's just you need to figure out where you will get it, probably some pottery area or some area in your region, and you just need to source that clay, and then you will 100% be able to make. And if you know, if it's too tough for you, a small one is extremely simple. There are also a lot of YouTube videos available for you to just make them, so it is just so accessible. And not just that, because Ganesha is deeply connected to earth, and also the Mooladhara chakra. Mooladhara chakra is also associated with the earth element. Just the activity of making this idol with the mud and getting the mud all over your hands and spending a few hours with that mud is a very powerful activity to do at this time. So it's like a win-win on all sets, and finally you get a completely clean murti without like random chemicals. So when you submerge it in water, it will be completely submerged so easily, and it's extremely holistic and environmental friendly. And lastly, I want to talk about the Ganesha in Jainism. Basically, the 23rd Tirthankar is Parshwanath. Parshwanath came before Mahavir Swami. Mahavir Swami is the last Tirthankar, who is also the 24th Tirthankar. So the one who came before him, just a few hundred years before Mahavir Swami, was Parshwanath. And Parshwanath, so all of the Tirthankars, they have two demigods or deities associated with them. They are called the Adhishtaik, which basically means these are the presiding deities for that Tirthankar's time. So the presiding deities for Parshwanath, the Devi is Padmavati Devi, who is considered very powerful, but the Dev is actually Parshwa Yaksha. Parshwa Yaksha looks so much like a Ganesha form, just that there are these snakes, there's a snake hood. So even the normal Ganesha a lot of times is depicted with a snake hood. So Parshwa Yaksha is like a Ganesha form. Because it's also Samvatsari on this day, I went to a Jain temple in Devanahalli, which is a powerful Parshwanath center, because they have like 108 Parshwanaths. I mean, it's like it's full of Parshwanath statues, which is very unusual, because usually in any Jain temple, when you go, as per certain rituals and processes, they decide which Tirthankar idol will go where. And yes, Parshwanath is very, very common, but this kind of a Parshwanath center where the main deity is Parshwanath, and there are 108 smaller idols of Parshwanath, and so much of Parshwanath is very uncommon. And so this temple basically has a very beautiful murti of this Parshwa Yaksha. It's a very big one also than usually found in other temples, and this Parshwa Yaksha is made so much like Ganesha, it is unbelievable. So it's just like a Ganesha except the snake hood, and very interestingly, it had a small turtle situated near its lap, near its leg, which was fascinating, because the turtle is symbolized as the Vahan of Devi in a lot of the temples, Hindu temples, and considering that Ganesha came from Devi, this turtle over here with the Parshwa Yaksha is very interesting for me. I'm not trying to say Parshwa Yaksha is Ganesha. I mean, I don't know if he is, but it is so interesting. And just the fact that this whole Ganesh Chaturthi, I had so many different glimpses of Ganesha traditions and Ganesha worship. It was fascinating. And this Jain temple, just as I was exiting it, I saw this huge murti of Parshwa Yaksha, so like Ganesha. It was very fantastic actually. And there were a couple of other Jain temples I could have gone to. I didn't have to go to this one. and to go to this one on the Chaturthi and to see this great Ganesha type murti was really fantastic. So I really am amazed with my Ganesh Chaturthi today. Especially because Paryushan started, and usually my focus is on Paryushan and Samvatsari more than Ganesha, but this time from before itself the vibe was about Ganesha. I knew like this time I had to do something about Ganesha. If you remember, I had done a Ganesha video a few years back, and that was also very naturally, it very naturally happened that I did some Ganesha worship that time. First time in my life I had done, and that video is it's quite an interesting bit where I talk about deity worship and things like that. And then this is the second time that finally the Ganesha again re-entered my life. So that was very fantastic this year.